Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow we have a Kalari Yoga workshop which will be held here in the morning. It is free and available for everybody. If you want to register, please contact one of these students, volunteers here, or you can contact me. And one reminder that today in the evening we have a ancient martial art comes to life this evening through a powerful Kalari Pattu and dance performance. So this is at 6:15. This is a don't miss session, and these artists, experts have arrived from Hyderabad and are waiting to perform for you. We welcome Suhel Seth, known for his sharp insights on business, branding, and public life. He remains one of the most recognizable voices in contemporary conversations about India's identity, expertise, and influence. In conversation with him is Devika Arora, a writer and cultural commentator whose work examines power, gender, cities, labor, and identity in the age of visibly educated Delhi and New York. She founded her first marketing company at the age of 17. She later worked across India, Paris, Dubai, and New York before moving into writing and cultural commentary. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Suhel Seth and Devika Arora.
Thank you for such a lovely introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Devika Arora. I'm sharing the stage today with Mr. Suhel Seth, who we all know as the most articulate speaker in the country, of course, the columnist of the hour, and the best businessman that we know. Mr. Suhel Seth, how are we feeling?
Very good. Get on with it.
Okay. So my first question about Brand India to you is, India globally now has a very romantic perception of the yoga country. There's color, there's chaos, there's spirituality. But on an economic level, what do you think our perception should rather be?
In fact, I think you've got it totally wrong. We are seen miserably as far as culture and soft power is concerned. Our only soft power is trashy Bollywood, with due respect to some Bollywood people here who actually make great films. Economically, we are now getting more and more relevant. 3 reasons. Number 1, size of population. Number 2, we're moving from a nation of shopkeepers to a nation of entrepreneurs. And number 3, the Indian consumer today, because of digitization, media implosion, is actually aspirational for all the good things. Remember, you weren't born then. We were a country of shortages. I mean, you had to fight for gas cylinders. Well, that's relevant today. You had only 2 atrocious cars to choose from. One made by the Birlas, the other made by the Doshis. How much good can that be? And you had Bajaj Auto, where you had to wait for a lifetime. In fact, Bajaj scooters were more valuable than gold in dowry. So we've moved a lot economically, but we are irrelevant in the larger scheme of things. We are still a country of labor arbitrage. So all these jokers who tell me, "Hamari IT power dekhiye, ghanta IT power." We still haven't been able to create a Facebook or a Google. We are lazy, we're non-innovative, and we castigate failure. Any society that castigates failure can never do well. Because if you don't fail, you will never rise. And it's important for people to respect the fact that you even tried in the first place. I mean, look at you. You failed so many times, but you've done exceedingly well. I'm just joking here. I have a stupid sense of humor, so you'll have to forgive me.
No, but okay, as somebody who has been consulting with so many brands for so many years, what do you think in the aspect of branding all these businesses and companies are lacking?
So it's the other way around. They've been consulting me. I wish I was consulting them, but thank God I don't. A lot of the businesses today are doing well, but a lot of them are centered around the Indian economic system. You still don't have, name me one global Indian brand. Jaguar Land Rover that we bought, I mean the Tatas bought, was a global brand. Chorus, global brand. Tetley, global brand. There are only 3 brands today that India can import to the world. And I say this with grave seriousness. One is Jio, because they will redefine digitization and the cost of digitization. Number 2, we can import some really remarkable locally produced brands. You know, I don't know how many of you have walked here. The Sherwani stalls are attractive because they will fill your stomach. But see some of the stuff that's happening here in terms of products. I was at the flats, which, by the way, they've destroyed Nainital. So whoever the chief minister and the district commissioner is should be shot in a nice way. Not as in shot as in with a gun, but take photographs and put them up across all the walls. They've buggered Nainital, but we'll come to that in a minute. The third, which is linked to products, is also tourism. We do not know how to market brand India. We are pathetic. You know, we'll say, oh, come to our palaces. You'll have the same jokers throwing flowers and, you know, screwing up your hair from the top as you enter a place. You'll have the same Johnnies from little pigeonholes who'll be sharing Rajasthani folk music. Then, we have some of the most amazing sights in this country. Look at what, I mean, as I said, look at what they've done to Nainital. It's a shame. It's a tragedy that these jokers in government have been allowed to get away with blue murder. Because the Dhamis and all are not intellectual. These are people who win elections. They don't have a brain, because if they had a brain, they would protect Nainital. So, I'm saying if people really were caring about this country, the first thing they would do is invest in talent. We have some of the brightest minds in India, but we do not give them 2 things. We do not give them access to capital, and we don't allow them a fertile environment. And let me tell you, if you deprive a society of access to capital or an ecosystem that engenders, to my mind, a more innovative way of doing it, you're dead. Look at our matrimonial ads. In the good old days, they told you, please apply if your son is an IAS officer or a doctor or a lawyer. And you've seen what these 3 classes have done to us. Other than Mukul Joshi, all the bureaucrats are totally lazy, irresponsible, and irrelevant. But that's what we've done. So my advice is that you can only do 2 things. One is, every evening, which most of you must be doing, not the young people. This is not advice, this is just joking. Either you get totally stoned or drunk and forget anything's happened, or you work assiduously towards bringing about change. I don't want to misquote or paraphrase Obama, but the change must begin from within. I have great hope, and I say this with seriousness, I have great hope in the potential of this country. I have very little hope in the jokers who are meant to harness that potential and actualize it. So don't wait for someone to help you, because no one is going to help you. Don't worry about failure, because whether you fail or succeed, if you have money, you will still have all the perks of life. But bring about change. Look at our scholarship. Look at the people's abilities to read. I must say this to the credit of Amitabh. I was telling Shonali here yesterday over lunch. Our festivals, literature festivals, have become more melas and less festivals. At least here we are blessed that Amitabh has created an ecosystem of right-minded people. Today, more festivals across the country are festivals where earlier I would ask these people, which is the last book you read? Now I've changed that to when was the last time you read? I'll have to change that further. Do you know there's something called reading? But that's who we are. So my advice is to young people like you, well, not so young in a manner of speaking, is that you have to bring about the change. Don't expect us. But I'm going to be 63. I don't give a monkey's toss. Desh mein kya hoga? I already have a wife who bullies me. I have a 6-year-old daughter who bullies me even more. So we'll ride into the sunset. We will leave this country in your hawala. So you decide whether you want to stone or build stones with great monuments. But I have to say, the session before this session, to my mind, with 4 formidable women, tells you, and I'm not saying this, and you know, I don't want anyone to say, oh, mansplaining, all this shit. No. I have always said that the day India has more women CEOs, we will have less corruption. the man is a corrupt animal. And men say, oh, हम तो अपने family के लिए कर रहे हैं. भाई और किसके लिए करोगे? Trump के लिए करोगे. So we are pathetic in corporate India as far as women CEOs are concerned. You tell me in the top 100 companies of India, how many women CEOs are there? 3. 2 of them because of family inheritance, which by the way is a perfect thing. जब लड़का inherit करता है, then there's no problem. If a lady inherit, नहीं ये तो अपने father की daughter है, तो और किसकी daughter होगी? So I'm saying that session, if you went through, and I was unlucky because Bhupendra Chaube detained me there in order to serve me coffee liqueurs. But if I'd come here on time, I would have been even more educated. So the point I'm making is, we are not studying, reading, engaging in a manner that we should. Narayan Murthy famously said, by all means disagree, but don't be disagreeable. Look at our television studios, thanks to people like Chaube. They are into fish markets. No one debates anymore. I'm waiting for the day someone shoots someone in a television studio, at least that'll go viral. Because no content is going viral in any case. So, before you ask your second longish question, I have great hope in this country. I have great hope in that young boy who asked a question of Subhashini and Madhurita. I have great hope in some mothers. I met Shonali's daughter in Dubai. So I'm an optimist. I believe this country can't be screwed over by anyone. These will be blips. But beyond a point, they can't. You know, also remember, we are not a country. We are a civilizational legacy. So we will recover, we will rise, but it is we who have to bring about that change. No one else is going to do it for you.
That's beautifully answered, of course. So this beautiful civilization, where do you see it in the next 10 years? Now, for decades, we've been hearing that India is the next big thing, right? So where do you see it now, moving forward?
So let's look at data. 2014, and this is not whether Modi came or Gandhi left or Jawaharlal Nehru came. First, let me park this, and I said this on a live thing day before yesterday, the FTI consulting. This constant making dead people fight has to stop. Nehru and Patel loved each other, but these jokers want them to fight. So forget that. I think what Nehru did for India can never be done by any other human being. He gave us a liberal outlook which we should protect to the end of our lives. Otherwise, we'll be totally screwed. Thank God the communists are out, other than Subhashini, because they had a problem for every solution. They buggered Bengal. They will do the same thing with Kerala. Subhashini knows, that's why she's left politics. My view here is that in 10 years, from the 10th largest economy, we are now the world's 4th largest economy. But let's not, go to town. Our GDP is pathetic because the poorest of the poor can't file an FIR. Try filing an FIR if you're poor. This is still a country run by contacts, network, who you know, जी कितने पैसे दोगे? All this मैं ना खाऊंगा, ना खाने दूंगा, सभी खा रहे हैं. No one has lost weight. So all this bullshit about, oh, we are now a clean country. Then we have insane people in parliament. I mean, Rahul Gandhi treats parliament as if he's in Nehru Park addressing a soapbox. Likewise, the government. Arun Jaitley famously said it's the business of the government to run parliament. It's not the business of the opposition to help the government run parliament. Parliament, to my mind, is a mess. They should have, I mean, I can't say this publicly, but, well, actually I can, but I don't care. Om Birla has been the worst speaker of the Lok Sabha since parliament began. But we can't do anything. So my point is, imagine these people don't exist. Then what would you do? And I will say things which you think are meant for the aged. Love your parents to death. Love your teachers and respect your teachers to death. Because they will give you unconditional advice and unconditional affection. All this modern nonsense, ki bhai chat, GPT, AI, all that. Everyone says, India, artificial intelligence, great. What will you do about native stupidity that you can see in the administration of this state? I mean, you have absolute idiots running the state. And no one is willing to take these jokers on. The Chief Justice of India says, please don't mention the judiciary to be corrupt. Oh, what did you find? Scrabble in that justice's house? You found money. So my last piece of advice is, don't be scared. There is nothing to fear except fear itself. Say things, don't have an agenda. You know, Kushwant Singh said in his book, With Malice to One and All, you don't have to have malice. You have to have facts, and you've got to be integral to what you say. George W. Bush II said something very interesting when asked that there were no weapons of mass destruction. And he says, look, the information that I got seemed to suggest there were. He says, I may have made a mistake, but that was not my intent. I'm saying, let's garner back the right intent. Economies, finance, money, these are all things that will come and go. But what are you going to do with these young children? What kind of value architecture are you going to inspire in them? What cultural idiom are you going to engender or encourage? You know, the session before Madhurita's and Subhashini's session, there's a brilliant session where Alka and Shalini Modi spoke at, moderated, where they talked about shadows in the epics. Talk to young people, ask them. They have no knowledge, they have no benchmark of their own history. भाई अगर आप अपनी कल्चर को नहीं जानोगे तो आप औरों की कल्चर को कैसे जानोगे? And a duffer like Subhash Ghai, many years ago, when Satyajit Ray released the Apu trilogy, Subhash Ghai said, this man is portraying India's poverty. I have worked with Mr. Ray. I have acted in Mrinal Sen's movies. Let me tell you, what Satyajit Ray did as a filmmaker, these guys in 7 lifetimes will not be able to achieve. But because of a lack of knowledge, Behti Ganga mein sab haath dho lete hain. Not to mention that the Ganga is as polluted as it ever was thanks to Uma Bharati and her ilk. So my point is, get involved with the idea of India. Don't only involve yourself with Brand India. Brand India is nothing. It is something that we invent in order to make money through consulting. The ultimate brand is about people. You don't buy a brand, you buy its benefits. You don't buy Colgate. You buy, your objectives are to get white teeth. So what is your objective of Brand India? What do you want to buy? What do you want to buy into? What do you want to believe in? And everything we have destroyed, to a large part. So I'm not being cynical, but I'm telling the young here today, you have to fight. Remember, every revolution, either ideological or political, always emanated from colleges and universities. You know, when I was growing up in Calcutta, people were targeting. The scoundrel Siddharth Shankar Ray shot people dead when the Naxalite movement came to be. But whether you talk to an Oshim Chatterjee or a Charu Mazumdar, everyone said that our objection was that urban centers were drawing menfolk from villages. And this whole nonsense of, oh, India lives in its villages was never being followed. And there are multiple Indias. So please don't think, oh, ab India united hai. It's not. There are multiple Indias. You know, I do more traveling by road than most people I know in the marketing world. And I can tell you of the problems. You will see, and I saw yesterday in my drive, there was complete ghettoization in terms of even the billboards. When you crossed Hapur and you were coming towards Muradabad, you almost got as if it's a Muslim area. And someone told me it's a Muslim area. I'm sorry. It's an Indian area. There is no Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Parsi. It is an Indian community. This constant division, and this division has not happened because of Modi. It happened because of Indira Gandhi as well. She was the woman who destroyed the idea of India through appeasement. She was the woman who destroyed electoral politics by Ayaram Gayaram. You know, Subhashi knows, and he was the man who allowed me to do a seminal play at that time called Bhutto. I went to Jyoti Babu. I was playing the lead in Bhutto. And I said, sir, Indira Gandhi has banned the play. So we obviously spoke in Bengali. He says, Cano? I said, no, because her name is mentioned. He says, to hell with her. It's my state. Stage the play. That's the encouragement we need from our politicians. We don't need a banana republic where you ban everything you don't like or you don't agree with. Any democracy is built on the fundamentals of dissent. It is not built on the fundamentals of agreement. The day people agree with you, you should be worried, which is why I'm in a happy state. My wife never agrees with me. My daughter certainly never agrees with me. So I know I'm doing something right. The day they agree with you, you should be worried. The day a politician tells you, sab theek hoga, means it is an unholy mess. Aur bolo beta.
See, talking about agreement, I'm not sure how agreeable it is what you said a little bit ago.
I'm not seeking your agreement. Next.
That's my question. That when you said that you and your family can go off into a happy sunset when you leave the country.
No, I didn't say my family. This is the other problem with people. They don't know the difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is non-cognitive. If you have ears, you'll hear. But if you listen carefully, you will go back to what I said. I said, I am happy to go into the sunset. I didn't say my family is happy. I can't speak for anyone.
No, I mean, well, that. But how do you feel about brain drain? A country like India, I would say, needs thought leaders and thought provocators like yourself. So where do we land with that?
So first, I have no illusions. I'm no thinker. I'm no public intellectual. I'm just an overweight guy struggling with weight issues and bloody worried about haldi shots and whether the tequila will be pure or not. So anyone who tells you, oh, you're bahut worried, I'm not worried at all. I just want to make sure that I don't be killed by a stationary bus in Delhi, which can also happen. People are worried about Iran and all. Bhai, aap yahan utarte hi aap gir jaoge. Because this government has, every government has designed such effective potholes. More children in our country have fallen into potholes than gone to school. That should tell you a thing or two about the country. Now, on a serious note, there is a fundamental problem with our Shastras. And I hope Alka is here or whoever wants to talk about it later, not now. We are never content. David Ogilvy used to famously say, consumers must be served communication which stokes divine discontent. Because if you're content, we are content with our present conditions because we are fearful. Now, I abused Naib Singh Saini, the Chief Minister of Haryana, but sadly I haven't finished abusing him yet. I started getting calls saying, yaar, BJP ka Haryana goli maar denge. I said, boss, these guys can't build a traffic light, ye kahan goli marenge? Point I'm making is we are not standing up for what we believe. A, B, we have an increased assessment of our self-importance. We are nothing. We are nothing. MPs are nothing. Actually, many of them are worse than us in terms of, integrity or whatever. But we have created a fear psychosis कि भाई अरे यार प्रधानमंत्री आ रहे हैं, ये रक्षा मंत्री आ रहे हैं, सुभाषिनी जी आ रही हैं, थोड़ा ये साफ कर दो ये वो. नहीं. Why? I will tell you this. This is no secret because I've done it all my life. Many years ago, I was in Ahmedabad. I'd finished speaking at IIM Ahmedabad and I came to the airport. And Jet Airways had shut its lounge. The public urinal was shut. Now, where do I pee? On the tarmac? So there was a thing saying CIP lounge. So I went in. Very sweet gentleman came. Sir, आपका नाम है? I said, कहाँ पे बेटा? ये बोर्ड पे? I said, नहीं. तो फिर आप यहाँ नहीं बैठ सकते. I said, क्यों? ये सब मंत्रियों के लिए. I said, वाड्रा का मंत्री बना था. नहीं सर, वो तो सोनिया जी के दामाद है ना. ऐसे बेटा मैं नेहरू जी का भी दामाद हो सकता था पर मेरा जन्म बहुत लेट हुआ है. And I sat down. If you use humor, he also smiled. He said, ठीक है बैठ जाइए. After that day, I've used every VIP lounge because those buggers are having biscuits from my money. I'm not even touching a biscuit. Why shouldn't I? We have stopped asking. And that, I will tell you, is driven by education. We were lucky, my brother and I, to be born and raised in Calcutta. Calcutta, the first thing they tell you is always ask, Cano. They'll tell you to stand in a line. The first Bengali will tell you, Cano, means why? Now, either you have the intellect to embark on an essay which would beat George Bernard Shaw's prefaces, or you give him logical reasons. Now, I don't want to labor the point. Every Thursday, which was a meatless day in Calcutta, we have not understood why, Manik Dao, Satyajit Ray, Mrinal Sen, Ritik Ghodok, and I I was, I think, 16 or 17 years old. There's a cafe called Shu Tripti in Goriahat. We would sit there at 7:30. One bottle of Old Monk rum, which I would urge all you young people to start on. One bottle of Old Monk rum, Afghani chicken, but the conversations were the most enriching. Make friends who will give you knowledge. Don't make friends who will give you contacts or network or any of that bullshit, because that is all temporary. And we were blessed that we were born and raised in a city which engendered, which encouraged great conversation. That is missing. Today, if you ask someone in Delhi or Bombay, they have no idea. So, I will give you one example. Many years ago in Ahmedabad, I asked, so the crowd tried to act cocky, so I said, let me screw them in the end. So I asked them, I said, you're all brilliant students. They say, yeah. I said, who's the Vice President of India? Is he relevant? I said, actually, you're right. I said, what is Hrithik Roshan's pet name? Duggu. I said, that's the tragedy of India. The person who can actually take over if the president dies in harness, that person's name you don't know. So knowledge is going to be the fundamental change driver. Because the one thing knowledge does is it embeds equality. And, I was blessed, and I will say this to the last day of my life, that I had the privilege and the blessing of being with very good human beings. Whether you look at a Ratan Tata or before that, Rusi Modi in Tata Steel, these were people who believed in giving back without the measure ki bhai publicity kitni milegi. You gave back in full measure. A country is as strong as its weakest link. What happened where I live in DLF in Gurgaon during COVID was criminal. All these rascals, of the 690 apartments, almost 400 apartments stopped paying wages to their staff using COVID as the reason. My mother was alive then, and I told my mother, I said, tell them on this WhatsApp group that tonight I'm going to nationally shame all these rascals. All the payments were made between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. But why do you need to do this? हम बोलते हैं कि भाई मनुस्मृति में दान के बारे में लिखा था. How many people are actually giving back? And I did a study for Tata Trust, and this is the truth. The poor of their income give away 30%. The rich of their income as a percentage, I'm not talking about the value, give away only 3 to 4%. That should tell you where the problem is. And unless you do all these things, there is no brand India. Well, brand India is not some slogan or a hoarding that you have. Aapke ateet mein, in your internal thinking and thought processes, who does your heart beat for? And I've said this on multiple occasions. My best friends, actually my closest friends in life, are Muslim. But the thought didn't dawn upon us until it was. But I will not name the person because he's a very, very, very famous industrialist. It was February the 2nd, 2002. Gujarat had happened. I went to this person's house for dinner. And the guy says, I don't want to go into the details. He says, Aaj acha hua na. I was there for 10 minutes and I left. And then I thought to myself, it is the richest of the rich who are harboring these. And this particular individual is not even affected by the partition. You are saying that Muslims or Hindus or ये किसी हिंदू के बाप का वतन नहीं था, ना ही किसी मुसलमान के बाप का वतन था. It was an Indian's country and it has remained an Indian country. Why? Who are we? We are not some. And Subhashi was right. The worst oppression to this day is caste. And unless we address these issues, and I'll be honest with you, with due respect, okay, the commies were good because they were neutral in these areas. But no one is addressing this. What did Ambedkar say? And please read Shashi Tharoor's book called the life of B.R. Ambedkar. Ambedkar actually left Hinduism and converted to Buddhism. He was so disgusted with the pernicious caste system. He said in Parliament, he says, I feel ashamed to have worked on the Indian Constitution, which today guarantees rights which are disproportionate. He also said that reservation should vanish by 1952. What have we done? Reservation is not a means of respect or a means of equal opportunity. It's a means of electoral appeasement. And the poorest country in the world is a country which denies equal opportunities. The impoverishment of opportunities is greater than any form of poverty. And until we realize that, we are in trouble. Look at how much we pay our judges. Look at how much we pay our public school teachers. What are you going to do? So I'm not non-hopeful. But I also believe that there are realities that the public intellectuals or the public elite or whoever the hell they are need to address or think about. School principals are more worried about their goddamn scores in CBSE or ICSE. They're churning out idiots by the droves. Every class 10, class 12, you have an army of idiots coming out. Narayan Murthy said, not me, he says we have to retrain 66% of people we hired at Infosys. And finally, which Subhashini mentioned as her response to a question, there is only one way to build a society. Compassion must blend with empathy. If you don't have either, you're dead. आपके पास जितना पैसा हो, कोई भी लेके नहीं जाएगा. आपके पास जितनी भी ताकत हो, कोई लेके नहीं जाएगा. But they will remember the good. There I disagree with William Shakespeare and Julius Caesar when he says the good is oft interred with the bones, the evil lives long after. No. The good will always live long after. It may live 20 years later, but it will live long after. On that note, tandoori chicken and keema naan at the Embassy restaurant awaits anyone who wants a free lunch. No, I'm just joking.
Okay.
No, I'm joking, yeah. Actually, I'm not.
Okay, we have 10 minutes left, so we're gonna open for any questions that anyone may have.
And by the way, if you all want a bonfire with free tequila and all, you all can come to Ashdale. I'm just
Mr.
joking.
Suhel is sponsoring, of course.
I'm joking, yeah. I did have
Any
a screwed-up
questions?
sense of humor.
Hi. So I was interested in what is your perspective. See, India is right now developing, and most of the countries which are at forefront push a lot of their budget into research and development, whereas India basically just neglects that frontier.
Brilliant.
So what do you think about that portion? And because of that, a lot of younger generation tends to shift their perspective from basic application-based research to money-based.
Brilliant.
So what?
I've understood your question, Beta. Where are you from?
So I'm from Calcutta.
Nicely done.
Delhi question. Sir, iPhone 17 better with 3 camera or iPhone 15? Calcutta के लोगों को देखो. चला हर चीज complicate करके ये लोग पूछेंगे. But you're right. If you remember, in my opening remarks, I said that innovation is the key to development. And innovation means you require R&D budgets and a fertile brain. We all have cookie cutter brains. What's your name?
সৃঞ্জনা
Bangali?
হ্যাঁ
বাংলা বলতে পারো ভালো করে?
হ্যাঁ পাকা বাঙালি
পাক্কা কাঁচা কিছু হয় না, বসে যাও। Pakka Bengali, Kacha Bengali is like partial pregnancy, doesn't exist. Okay, Shonali, give the mic. Put on a mic, she's very powerful.
Excessive reservation and compliance in India discourages anybody from setting up enterprise here, leave alone attracting wealth from abroad. I was speaking to someone who has set up a club in Bombay, an international chain, and he is trying to set it up in Delhi, and he was saying that I regret bringing this to India because at every level it is just so stressful. So while one would like to, the younger generation to take on, be inspired by our talk and change the system, but at one level, there's the hopelessness. And what do you have to say to that?
I think that's a superb question. So let me give you two examples. One, a Calcutta example, when I didn't do any television, no one knew, no one... In those days, we had landlines. There were no mobiles, there was nothing. And every time Calcutta got flooded, the telephone lines went for a toss. So you had to go to Harrington Street. For us, Harrington Street to the telephone exchange. And my dad told me, he says, "Jaake ye phone theek karao." Went. The guy asked me, he says, 30 rupees. I said, for what? He says, to get it done. I said, means it can be done, you're not doing it. So I'm not asking you people to follow the advice. So I gave him one. And it got done. Then I learned that this is the only way. So then I hit an income tax officer, against which then I got a police complaint and all that shit. Then Jyoti Babu helped me. I said, these people are asking for a bribe for being... The system is pernicious. And there's a very dear friend of mine who once told me, he says, easy for you to abuse because you don't have any factories to run, but a boiler inspector can come and shut down your factory for 25 days. So what do we do? The problem in India, and I will say this with due respect to Mukul, is the tyranny of the unelected IAS. And they are very smart people. All these guys are from St. Stephen's and all. Not that St. Stephen's is the temple of academic excellence, but you know what I mean. But it's a cozy club. Arun Jaitley, when he was finance minister, once told me, because I got a refund, and in order to get the refund, he says, 10% to dena hi padega. I said, for what? He says, that's the bribe you have to pay in order to get your refund check. Why does the media not take these issues up? Why does the... And I will say this, many people may disagree with me. I've known Arnab Goswami from his telegraph days in Calcutta. December the 5th last year, I was in Central Park. Arnab called me. I said, my advice, start taking up citizen issues all over again. And he took up the Aravali's issue. It got stopped. So there is fear. But there has to be calibrated media attention on these people. Otherwise, they will go amok. They will run amok. You very rightly talked about an international club. Let me give you a theatre experience. Dr. Kalam was president. He was coming to see my play called Art. Delhi police came before the play and said, we want 30 tickets. Free. So obviously I told them no. And they left. But they wanted 30 tickets. So I've always said, we got independence in 1947, but India is the capital of freedom fighters of the world. We fight for anything that's free. That's true. So you're right. The system will only change if you build pressure and are willing to endure pain. But if you don't, I mean, I'm very fond of him, all of that. They replayed KP Singh's interview on Walk the Talk with Shekhar Gupta, where I have to marvel at KP Singh's intellectual linear thinking. He says there is a difference between speed money and bribery. Speed money means policy is right, but kaam jaldi ho jayega. Bribery means policy ko hi change karo. That is more complex than solving the New York Times crossword. But if this is the belief of Indians, what do you say? Not because of Mr. Tata or my love for him till the day he died. We started the chambers at Taj Land's End. For 3 years, we couldn't open it. Because the BMC, another corrupt bloody organization, didn't give licenses. They wanted money. Unless we are willing to endure pain, there will be no gain. And the country will continue to slide. There is no reason why school children of Nainital should not put up posters saying, Dhami, shame on you. हमारे नैनीताल का क्या किया आपने? पर आपका स्कूल प्रिंसिपल ही आपको रस्टिकेट कर देगा. Because he must be an appointee of Dhami's brother-in-law. So what do? भैया, धामी को धीमा करने के लिए आपको दम लगाना पड़ेगा. जब तक आप दम नहीं लगाओगे, धामी... See, these people are intellectually innocent, which is a polite way of saying you're an idiot. They have no idea of the right or the wrong. They are in a whirlpool of total complacency, lethargy, and unintellectual competence. So unless you point it out to them, they won't know. You'll have to bring Dhami and tell him, by the way, this is a lake. The water level is low. So you have to actually drag him by the ears and explain to him. Because these people are blind. They can't see. So you will ruin every city in India if you allow this kind of nonsense to go on. And here I must say with due respect, the judiciary is the worst offender. Because they allow cases to take so long. They allow for commercial disputes are taking 5 years. And they want to kill dogs. A country that does not love its voiceless is no bloody country at all. You may not love a dog, you may not love a pet, but to ask for culling, to ask for this, I ran a campaign single-handedly. And one lady tells me, oh, hamare bachche ko kutte ne kaata tha. I said, your child will actually improve. And then I corrected myself. I said, I'm not being mean or disruptive. I said, but tell me, should you cull dogs? Should you cull all animals? What kind of a country? One last thing. If you go on Park Lane in London, there's a plaque in the middle of the road which says this is a tribute to all the animals who were sacrificed in World Wars I and II. Full stop, because they had no choice. And now I have no choice but to leave for keema naan and butter chicken.
That's some serious food for thought. Thank you so much. Falling prey to our circumstance is not scope for victimizing ourselves. And thank you, Mr. Suhel Seth, for propagating that thought yet again.
Thank you
Over
so
to you.
much,
Thank you.
Devika. Thank you, sir. There are no words to sum up. I've just talked about, and all the information, eye-opening information for all of us to take back. Now I invite Trustee of the Lekhni Foundation, Payaswini Singh, to please come and facilitate, sir. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for such a lovely session.